Hi, and welcome to our presentation for adolescent development and learning. I'm Stu.
I'm Haja.
And I'm Hayley.
In this presentation, we'll be discussing Kayla, a Year 7 student physically more mature than her peers.
Kayla excels in sports and visual arts at school. She liked maths and science, but now often complains of forgetting class content and not being able to keep up. Some students have said that she could be withdrawn and doesn't share personal information.
Staff at Kayla's school have mentioned that she sometimes doesn't show up for class. She has difficulties with peers of her own age and hangs around with older students who have been previously reprimanded for using illicit drugs.
While she has a supportive home environment, her parents have very limited English language skills and are struggling financially. She has said she actually wants to do well at school and hopefully do visual arts at university, but she just needs more help.
By identifying some of the developmental issues Kayla is facing, we have developed 2 school-based interventions designed to address developmental issues and facilitate improvements in Kayla's cognitive and psychosocial development, leading to improved educational outcomes.
Kayla's early physical maturation has left her vulnerable to an increased number of risk factors that may negatively impact on her educational outcomes and overall well-being.
Such risk factors include an increased likelihood of engaging in substance abuse and risky sexual activity, being depressed, engaging in juvenile delinquency, and being lured into problem behaviours, something already identified in Kayla.
While these risks alone may not warrant any direct intervention by Kayla's school, when considered in the context of Kayla's cognitive, psychosocial and emotional development, deeper issues may be identified.
Along with her early physical maturation, Kayla's socialisation with older students indicates that she is at a more advanced stage of psychosocial development. However, because of the risks associated with early maturation and exposure to adult themes, this advancement isn't necessarily an advantage without school-level intervention.
Kayla's inability to remember class content and keep up with schoolwork may be an indicator of her experiencing a developmental cascade. This developmental cascade is the cumulative effect of her social, financial and academic life, where the volume and intensity of interactions and transactions is cognitively impairing her ability to perform.
Having identified issues surrounding Kayla's physical, psychosocial and cognitive development, 2 strategies have been devised to promote her well-being in a holistic manner.
We have devised a program referred to as Art Room Mentoring to help Kayla develop positive relationships with older peers and to also help her excel in her artistic abilities.
Because Kayla has expressed an interest in visual arts and continuing it in tertiary study, the idea behind peer mentoring was to provide Kayla with a positive role model, while also allowing her access to the art room and art facilities with a responsible, teacher-chosen senior student who would also provide supervision during independent art study and at lunchtimes.
This contrasts with Kayla's current friendship group, which is made up of previously reprimanded older students while simultaneously providing Kayla with a lunchtime activity that promotes the acquisition of art and social skills.
This intervention is informed entirely by Kayla's current interests and immediate social needs, those being Kayla's interest in and desire to succeed at visual arts and her need to gain social skills in order to expand her current circle of friends, which presently consists of older students while she remains withdrawn and private around peers her own age, potentially due to premature physical maturation.
As stated, this intervention is focused specifically on Kayla, her interests and her current requirement for an alternative lunchtime activity, which increases the likelihood of post-lunch class attendance. We identified that Kayla was in need of positive influences rather than her current lunchtime activities, which expose her to increased opportunities of risk-taking and contribute to her poor class attendance.
Kayla says that she wants help and wants to do well at school. This intervention provides Kayla with assistance in an informal environment in which her behaviour and progress can be assessed, as well as providing Kayla with a stable lunchtime routine, room to do schoolwork or pursue hobbies, as well as a peer mentor to facilitate learning and potentially build a friendship with.
In devising this program, the initial idea was to give Kayla individual access to art room facilities. Although, without supervision, this access may have been exploited, requiring teacher involvement. However, excessive teacher involvement could have acted as a deterrent to Kayla, resulting in continued delinquency and exposure to risk-taking opportunities.
We then explored the idea of peer mentoring, or having a responsible senior student who is doing visual arts in Stage 6, who could supervise and assist Kayla while also completing their artwork or perfecting necessary skills.
The use of student supervision provides room for a minimisation of direct teacher involvement and creates a casual environment which allows Kayla to gain a sense of independence in a secure and academically stimulating environment, while being exposed to a positive role model and an outlet to practice newly acquired social skills.
Vygotsky's socio-cultural cognitive theory emphasizes the impact that cultural and social interaction have on guiding cognitive development or knowledge construction. Essentially, the construction of an individual's knowledge is based on the inventions of the society. By missing out on school and participating in risk-taking behaviour with older students, Kayla is constructing knowledge based on her friendship group as opposed to prescribed educational study. By pairing Kayla with a peer mentor who is older and shares the same values, Kayla will be able to construct knowledge based on these interactions with a positive role model. Through this intervention, Kayla's new friendship will in turn inform her interests, goals and success through shared values.
There is a link between premature physical maturation and seeking out older friends. Through this intervention, Kayla is provided with an alternative older student to spend time with. Her incentive to continue to take part in this program is independent access to art facilities, which could also be modified to allow access to sports facilities. As Morris states, students benefit more greatly when participating in a multitude of extracurricular activities, as opposed to focusing on a singular activity. As Kayla's confidence and social ability increases, so too do the opportunities for further school involvement.
Student involvement in extracurricular activities is linked to higher grades, increased school engagement, high probability of school completion, improved likelihood of further study, higher self-esteem, and lower rates of depression, delinquency, and substance abuse. While this peer mentoring intervention is the beginning stage of Kayla's engagement with extracurricular school activities, the benefits increase in proportion to programs undertaken.
Attribution theory states that when given the resources and a suitable environment, individuals are able to assess their motivations for behaviours as well as underlying causes for these behaviours. Through Kayla's engagement within the reflective program of Art Room Mentoring, Kayla is able to begin to make sense of her own behaviour and performance, hopefully attributing her improved school performance to engagement with the program and her mentor.
Through developing a sense of mastery and also experiencing complete absorption in a state of concentration during an activity, in this case visual arts, Kayla is more likely to achieve deep enjoyment and happiness, in line with the concept of optimal life experiences. This is relevant as it makes peer mentoring and access to art facilities more rewarding than engaging in risk-taking behaviour with their current friendship group.
Additionally, the implementation of a breakfast club at the school is an initiative which has the potential to benefit the entire school and wider community. The premise is that a free breakfast is offered to students and staff, student leaders and school administration staff in a casual but supervised environment before school hours, 3 days a week, to produce a positive environment and promote a cohesive school community.
Kayla requires integration into her own peer group to decrease risk factors associated with continuing her friendship with the older student, as well as continue along the social and cognitive development continuum with the rest of her grade. By missing school in favour of this older friendship group, Kayla is missing out on formative school experiences and skills.
Through building rapport with teachers, administrative staff such as the deputy principal and school counsellor, and school leaders such as prefects, Kayla has increased incentive to attend classes in order to pursue meaningful and positive school relationships.
Contrasting with Educational Intervention 1, this before-school breakfast club program is not focused specifically on Kayla. However, it can be modified in terms of increased involvement. An example of this would be to have her pair up with another Year 7 peer as the main student representatives in their year, while having the rest of the Year 7 peers rotate based on the schedule. The idea of a rotating roster will also benefit other students at risk of becoming withdrawn also.
Because Kayla's family is currently experiencing financial struggles, the implementation of the breakfast club allows Kayla and the other students currently without access to nutritionally stable or adequate breakfasts are able to be satiated before school, benefiting their academic progress through aiding in concentration and focus throughout the day.
In developing this before school program, we looked at ways in which an intervention could also assist other at-risk students. The Breakfast Club assists students by creating a supportive before-school social space, caters for students currently experiencing financial difficulties, and allows for peer integration and socialisation.
The benefits to student socialisation and skill acquisition is heightened through the attendance of key school members, student leaders and staff. It allows for communication between student year groups who may never otherwise have had an opportunity to interact, and allows students to increase familiarity with staff whom they may not have met throughout their high school school career yet. Because of the whole school application and the relevance of this program to all facets of school involvement, the Breakfast Club will need to be held in a large enough venue to facilitate positive social interaction.
While this program is beneficial to students and the larger school community, in many ways the repeated undertaking of the Breakfast Club incurs a large cost to the school. This school cost can be offset by allowing local companies such as cafes, catering companies, sporting clubs, etc. to supply breakfast foods or monetary aid in order to have a stall at school fetes, shows, voting days or other opportunities, and provides valuable community marketing opportunities.
The idea behind William Glass's choice theory is that an individual's behaviour is their best attempt at negotiating a specific situation at that time. Through in-depth analysis, we can claim that Kayla has a need to belong, given that she has withdrawn from her own age peer group. Possibly, due to being more physically mature than her peers, she has sought the company of older students. By providing Kayla with an alternate choice to make when it comes to seeking a place to belong, such as with new friends met through her involvement with Breakfast Club, Kayla has more tools to aid her in this decision-making process to meet her social needs. Through giving Kayla this choice, she has more control and direction, especially if taking on the extra student representative role.
There is a link between positive friendship relationships and positive outcomes such as those listed for the above intervention, including decreased likelihood of delinquency and substance abuse and an increase in her desire to be a responsible individual. The Breakfast Club also allows Kayla to find students in her own year group who also want to do well academically and will promote positive academic achievement, as well as meet Kayla's social needs.
Sullivan's theory on adolescent friendship links high-achieving friends to high individual achievement. By aligning Kayla with students who share similar values and having the similarity nurtured through pedagogical interventions such as group work and seating plans, academic success increasingly becomes a shared value within the group, therefore improving individual performance.
Adolescent development and learning has really helped me become aware of key developmental issues that students are dealing with that I too need to take into consideration to better understand students and teach them in the most effective way possible without forcing them to take on an extraneous load. As a result, the concepts I've learned allow me to ensure that their learning is not compromised as they are able to engage and consolidate the content I'm teaching. This can be done by ensuring class engagement through circle class activities, group work, and implementing Lev Vygotsky's zone of proximal development theory in my teaching techniques. I've learned that the role of a teacher entails more than just to teach students class content, but that I am also partly responsible in their holistic development. Adolescence is a vital stage in the growth of an individual and can either ruin them or equip them with the resources and fundamental knowledge and skills that will help them excel in their future lives. I agree with Stanley Hall's statement that adolescence is a period of storm and stress, but also agree with Robert Epstein's argument that adolescents are highly competent. I therefore understand that students are experiencing changes both physically and psychologically and are performing risk-taking activities based on hot and cold cognitive situations, and that timing is a significant factor that decides whether these changes impact the student positively or negatively, and that I should always try to challenge my students to keep them engaged and active in class tasks. Thus, being aware of these concepts like synaptic pruning and cognitive load helps as I understand that I must repeat important theories and content to ensure that information becomes part of the student's long-term memory and to help them form better associations with pre-existing schemas.
This unit really focused on the potential impact adolescent development has on teaching practice. There is a lot of knowledge being taken away from these 9 weeks, as well as skills to develop and integrate into my practice as a future teacher. These include the implications of the onset of puberty and the importance of timing to students' well-being, as well as future health concerns. For example, an early maturing girl is at increased risk of developing breast cancer later on in life, but also is at risk of engaging in early sexual activity, ingesting alcohol, or taking part in substance abuse. To think that a teenage girl is having to deal with such enormous changes to her body, as well as be exposed to increased risk factors, means that my role as a teacher is not only about conveying class content, but also modelling positive and healthy social behaviours, as well as setting up stable and consistent classroom practices and procedures in which issues like this can be properly addressed with the right resources to support student disclosure. This ties into a really interesting concept I learned in this unit, which is the idea of hot and cold cognition, or high and low arousal environments, and how, as a teacher, I'm only going to see one very small part of my students in the low arousal environment of my classroom. The idea of information processing is probably the aha moment I experienced during the unit. It's
not just about student interest or engagement, but also about how the information is being presented that can help or hinder their intake of information.
On this assignment, as well as the one semester's worth of work with adolescent development and learning, the big take-home message I got out of it was that adolescence is a socially constructed notion, that it's historically changed as different theories have been incorporated into it and will change into the future. As a construction, it incorporates a number of different aspects of development, whether it's physical, psychosocial, cognitive or emotional, and that as teachers we need to be aware of these issues because that's what our kids are going through. Just as the professional standards demand teachers differentiate their teaching for students from a range of socioeconomic, ethnic, religious, cultural, sexual and gender-based backgrounds, so too do we need to differentiate our teaching for the different stages of adolescent development that kids are going through. As a history teacher, it was particularly interesting to note Piaget's notion of cognitive development, whereby it's only really in that last stage of development that kids can reason abstractly and think hypothetically. It's one of the big skills that history teaches, and so as a teacher into the future it's going to take me a lot of practice and a lot more reading and a lot more learning to be able to effectively manage that.